Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome to a new episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast. Today, we explore the planning phase of Operation Frankton, also known as the Raid on Bordeaux Harbour. This operation was carried out by the Royal Marine Boom Patrol Detachment, comprising 12 men in 6 canoes. Operation Frankton was a crucial mission aimed at disrupting German supply lines by targeting ships in Bordeaux Harbour. Major Herbert Blondie Hasler led this operation, and his detailed planning was key to its execution. The first step involved selecting a small team of highly skilled and resilient men. Hasler's team underwent rigorous training to prepare for the challenging conditions they would face. The operation's strategic goal was to use canoes, a less detectable means of transport, to plant limpet mines on enemy ships. This required careful consideration of timing, routes, and the handling of equipment. The chosen canoes, known as cockles, were lightweight and capable of being carried by the men when necessary. Each canoe was equipped with limpet mines, navigational tools, and supplies for the journey. Planning for the raid included detailed reconnaissance of Bordeaux Harbour, understanding the tides and currents, and anticipating possible obstacles. The team practiced stealth and speed, critical for their approach to the heavily guarded harbour. The final plan involved launching the canoes from a submarine, HMS Tuna, several miles from the French coast, and paddling into the harbour under the cover of darkness. Operation Frankton's meticulous planning reflected the innovative strategies and bravery of the Royal Marine Boom Patrol Detachment. This episode delves into the specifics of their preparation, highlighting the logistical challenges and the thoroughness of their approach. Join us as we uncover the detailed steps and decisions that laid the groundwork for this significant raid during World War II. But let's start with taking a look at the harbour of Bordeaux in the south of France. The port of Bordeaux plays a pivotal role in supporting German war efforts during World War II, serving as a key hub for the shipment of vital resources. From June 1941 to 1942, this strategic port facilitates the importation of a significant array of essential supplies, critical to the Axis powers' military and industrial operations. Among these are vast quantities of vegetable and animal oils, indispensable for a variety of applications ranging from food production to the manufacture of lubricants and chemicals. Additionally, the port witnesses the arrival of diverse raw materials, further bolstering the German war machine's capacity to sustain its extensive military campaigns across Europe. On May 9, 1942, Lord Selborne, the Minister for Economic Warfare, expresses concerns about enemy blockade runners between the Far East and German-occupied European ports, including critical cargoes like rubber, in a letter to Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Following Japan's entry into the war, maritime traffic between Germany and Japan increases noticeably, significantly threatening to enhance the war efforts of both nations. On June 22, 1942, Lord Selborne continues to address the issue, writing again to Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Attlee during Mr. Churchill's trip to Washington. He underscores the projected traffic between Germany and Japan over the next 12 months and its potential impact on their war capabilities. Further investigations by Lord Selborne's ministry reveal that Bordeaux is a crucial port for the enemy's blockade runners. In the previous year, approximately 25,000 tons of crude rubber had been transported through Bordeaux to Germany and Italy, meeting the enemy's rubber needs. Other vital cargoes include tin, tungsten, and animal and vegetable oils, all crucial for the German war effort. The reverse cargoes to Japan mainly consist of manufacturing equipment and prototypes of various weapons, which are crucial for Japanese military advancements. Intercepting blockade runners heading to Bordeaux presents a complex tactical dilemma. Shortly after Lord Selborne sent his first letter to Deputy Prime Minister Clement Attlee, both the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force examine the problem. The Navy finds the prospect of a direct naval operation in Bordeaux, deep within enemy-controlled territory, highly impractical and risky. The Royal Air Force, capable of reaching Bordeaux by air, faces significant operational limitations. The technology and skills available at the time do not allow for the precise identification and targeting of specific ships within the bustling port. A broad bombing campaign would be necessary, entailing bombing the entire dock area. Such an action would not only cause substantial collateral damage, but also significant civilian casualties among the French populace, many of whom are sympathetic to the Allied cause. The Foreign Office also expresses reservations about a bombing campaign, concerned about the negative repercussions it would have on public opinion in France. There is a particular concern about the impact on the morale and perception of the Free French forces and supporters abroad. These diplomatic considerations play a crucial role in shaping the operational choices of the British military leadership. Given the constraints faced in mounting a direct attack, more feasible alternative strategies are considered. The British resort to preventive and harassing tactics, which include deploying submarine patrols in the Atlantic and laying mines at the mouth of the Gironde River by air. These methods aim to disrupt the enemy's supply lines and impede the movement of blockade runners without the risks and drawbacks associated with larger-scale direct military actions. The issue is also forwarded to the Combined Operations Headquarters. On July 27, 1942, the issues Lord Selborne raised in his June 22, 1942 letter regarding the Bordeaux port are referred to Combined Operations Headquarters, where it becomes a significant focal point for strategic planning due to the port's critical role in German maritime activities. The Examination Committee at Combined Operations Headquarters is tasked with exploring possible methods to either destroy the enemy ships harboured there or render the port itself unusable. Bordeaux's geographical and defensive characteristics pose unique challenges to any direct Allied assault. Bordeaux is located approximately 800 kilometers from Plymouth, the closest British port of significant size, and requires navigation up the 100-kilometer estuary of the Gironde into the Garonne River. This journey is akin to travelling from Margate to the Tower of London on the Thames, indicating both the distance and navigational complexity involved. Additionally, the natural landscape and the strategic depth of the port within French territory heavily fortify the area, making any maritime approach perilous. The German military robustly fortifies the approaches to Bordeaux. Naval and air patrols are routinely conducted around the Gironde estuary, while submarines stationed in Bordeaux are dispatched on their missions from this strategic point. Furthermore, coastal defense batteries and anti-aircraft installations cover the potential avenues of approach, significantly enhancing the port's security against potential Allied attacks. Recognizing the strategic implications and the formidable defenses, the examination committee deliberates on the feasibility of a direct combined operation. Such an operation, they estimate, would require the deployment of at least 3 divisions, approximately 50,000 troops, along with a substantial fleet of warships, transports, and extensive air support. Given the ongoing military commitments in the desert, the Far East, Malta, and the preparations for the landings in French North Africa under General Eisenhower, the resources required for a direct assault on Bordeaux are deemed unavailable. Consequently, the idea of a large-scale combined operation is dismissed. The committee's response is notably brief and lacks enthusiasm. 3 weeks following this decision, the search committee, led by Commander J.H. Unwin, re-examines the situation to explore alternative smaller-scale operations. They conclude that the area is too extensive for an effective bombing campaign, and comprehensive submarine patrolling would demand numerous vessels unless intelligence on ship movements can be significantly improved. Mining the mouth of the Gironde is considered a viable option, as is the potential use of submarines or canoes for more focused missions. Despite these considerations, no immediate action follows. The complexities involved, combined with the substantial resource allocation needed and the high risks associated with any operation, lead to a cautious approach, reflecting the strategic restraint and prioritization of other theaters of war by Allied planners during this period. Lord Selborne writes to Mr. Attlee on August 5, 1942 again, emphasizing the consistent evidence of Germany and Japan's determination to maintain their logistics program. He notes that 15 potential blockade runners are ready at French Atlantic ports, with 3 en route from the Far East and 3 more expected to sail soon. Mr. Attlee passes this correspondence to Brigadier L.C. Hollis, Senior Assistant Secretary of the War Cabinet, instructing him to bring these concerns to the attention of the Chiefs of Staff. The subsequent actions after Lord Selborne's letter are forwarded to the Chief of Staff, though they remain unclear. On September 18, 1942, Major Hasler of the Royal Marines Boom Patrol Detachment, accompanied by Colonel Neville, Royal Marines Chief Planning Coordinator, scrutinizes potential operations at Combined Operations Headquarters in London, though no suitable plan emerges. During the weekends of September 19th, 20th, 1942, the decision-making process surrounding the Bordeaux operation reaches a critical juncture. Lieutenant Colonel Cyril Horton, leading a team of Royal Marine planners at Combined Operations Headquarters, is on the verge of declaring the mission unfeasible due to the myriad challenges and resource constraints highlighted by both the examination and search committees. The demands of concurrent military engagements in other theaters add another layer of complexity, rendering the allocation of substantial resources to a large-scale operation in Bordeaux increasingly impractical. However, the arrival of new information from Colonel Robert Neville about Major Herbert Blondie Hasler's presence in London marks a significant turn. Recognizing Hasler's proven expertise in commando operations and innovative military tactics, Horton sees a valuable opportunity to reconsider the approach to Bordeaux. This realization prompts a swift change in plans. As Major Hasler is about to depart from Waterloo Station, he is urgently recalled. One day later on, September 21, 1942, Major Hasler's day is consumed by an in-depth review of the Bordeaux file's specifics, including thorough examinations of navigational charts, assessments of time and distance factors, and strategizing the optimal insertion point for the raiding force within striking range of Bordeaux. Hasler also familiarizes himself with the enemy dispositions and the geographical intricacies of the Gironde estuary. He considers critical natural factors, such as tidal patterns and lunar phases, crucial for timing the operation during a dark period around the new moon to ensure maximum cover for stealth movements. This period coincides with spring tides, marked by more extreme water levels and stronger tidal currents, potentially aiding the infiltration and extraction phases of the mission. Despite incomplete data, Hasler feels confident enough to draft preliminary plans. He spends that evening discussing the feasibility and details with Colonel Robert Neville. Hasler crystallizes his thoughts during the eerily hours of September 22, 1942, into what he terms outline proposals, which he presents that morning. Neville later describes Hasler's rapid development of these plans as the quickest outline plan of its kind on record. The proposal highlights include transportation. Hasler proposes using 3 Cockle Mk2 canoes transported by a submarine or another vessel provided by the Admiralty within 6 kilometers of the Gironde's mouth under the cover of darkness. Attack strategy. The mission would employ limpet mines to attack enemy ships. The raiding party would paddle from the sea to Bordeaux over 4 nights, timing the attack to coincide with one of the darkest nights near the new moon. Exfiltration. The plan includes a return journey down the estuary over successive nights, with hopes of a rendezvous with the mothership. If a naval extraction proves impossible, the team is to destroy their equipment and escape overland. Hasler's innovative use of canoes is driven by necessity, as more robust vessels like the explosive boom patrol boat are not yet operational. The stealth and flexibility offered by canoes, although physically demanding, provide a significant tactical advantage in terms of silence and non-detection. The choice of a submarine as the transport vessel, despite its challenges, is strategic. Submarines can approach enemy shores undetected during daylight, allowing precise navigational fixes before launching the canoes after dark. This method, however, requires careful handling to maneuver the canoes through the restrictive torpedo hatches and into the water, a technical challenge Hasler is still addressing. Major Herbert Blondie Hasler is acutely aware of the challenges his unit faces, given their relatively brief period of training, just 2.5 months. Despite their burgeoning capabilities, they are not yet fully prepared for a mission as complex and dangerous as the one planned for Bordeaux. However, Hasler anticipates an additional 1 to 2 months to focus specifically on training tailored to the requirements of this particular operation. He recognizes the need for discretion and secrecy surrounding the plan, which means that while the operation's specifics are closely guarded, the intensity of their training can be increased without revealing the mission's details. During this preparatory period, Major Herbert Blondie Hasler is scheduled for a leave from September 23rd to 27th, 1942. He utilizes this time not only for rest and personal activities, but also for attending to professional duties. One day is devoted to observing parachute tests, an activity likely relevant to his ongoing military interests and perhaps even to the upcoming operation. Another day is consumed with administrative tasks, where he finds himself telephoning madly in all directions, coordinating and managing aspects of his unit's preparation from afar. The remainder of his leave is spent in a more personal and relaxing manner at his mother's home in Catherington. There, Hasler engages in mundane activities such as gardening, which he finds rather tedious, and playing the saxophone, a more enjoyable pastime that provides a mental break from his responsibilities. He also takes the opportunity to simply rest, enjoying the autumn sun, a rare moment of peace in the otherwise intense and demanding life of a military officer. Throughout this period, Major Hasler maintains a strict protocol of secrecy, a practice he upholds even in the company of his family. His mother, Mrs. Hasler, respects her son's professional boundaries implicitly. She never probes into the specifics of his work, adhering to a principle of not asking questions about his activities. This mutual understanding allows Hasler to maintain the necessary confidentiality of his military endeavors without the added strain of guarding information from his own family. The training of the Royal Marines Boom Patrol Detachment escalates in intensity at South Sea, meticulously aligned with Hasler's plan. Despite the ongoing development of the Cockle Meke 2, secrecy envelops the operation, with only Hasler and Lieutenant Jock Stewart, his second-in-command, privy to the details. The men remain uninformed of their mission until their departure. From September 28, 1942 on, Major Herbert Blondie Hasler's preparations for Operation Frankton enter a phase of heightened activity and urgency. Recognizing the need for tight security and effective collaboration, Hasler brings only one confidant into the full depth of planning, Jock Stewart. Together, they embark on a rigorous schedule, sometimes extending their working hours late into the night, occasionally relying on benzodrine to sustain their alertness and energy. The preparations involve extensive modifications to the canoes, the Cockle Mk2, intended for the mission, reflecting the unique challenges posed by the operation's requirements. This period also requires meticulous attention to the assortment of necessary supplies, including specialized stores, food and clothing adapted for the arduous task ahead. Alongside these physical preparations, Hasler is also tasked with refining the operational plan for Frankton, which requires iterative revisions and approvals from higher military authorities. Hasler's efforts to secure the necessary assets for the mission lead him to Captain S.M. Raw, the Chief Staff Officer to the Admiral, at Northway in London. His discussions are fruitful, culminating in the authorization to use a submarine for the insertion of the raiding party. However, this approval comes with the understanding that the submarine, which would be part of the 3rd Submarine Flotilla, based out of Holy Loch on the Clyde, will not be able to return for extraction. The risks of such a maneuver, particularly in the wake of the anticipated explosions and enemy alertness, are deemed too great. This situation effectively leaves the raiders with no naval extraction possibility, confronting them with the daunting prospect of an overland escape through enemy-occupied territory, a perilous journey that will test their endurance and evasion skills to the utmost. To maintain operational secrecy and provide plausible cover for the sudden relocation of his unit, Hasler cleverly frames the move to the Clyde as a routine transfer for advanced training. This half-truth serves both as a believable reason for the unit's departure from their usual bases and as a strategic misdirection from their actual mission objectives. As the details of Operation Frankton are meticulously planned, Major Hasler finds himself deeply involved in every aspect of the preparations. The failure of the Dieppe raid earlier in August underscores the necessity for detailed and thorough planning. Hasler's collaboration with Lieutenant Commander G.P. Lestrange, a staff officer at Combined Operations Headquarters, proves crucial. Lestrange provides invaluable assistance by compiling detailed information on the tides, currents, enemy dispositions, and local topography of the Gironde area. In preparation for the mission, Lestrange meticulously prepares reference cards for each canoe, which include all essential navigational and environmental data. On October 12, 1942, Major Hasler and Lieutenant Commander Lestrange visit Captain S.M. Raw to finalize details concerning the submarine that will deploy the canoes. On October 18, 1942, the plans are further refined when they draft the first revised outline for the operation, still planning to utilize only 3 canoes. The full plans for Operation Frankton are officially presented and approved by Admiral Louis Mountbatten on October 13, 1942. However, he makes significant amendments to the initial proposal by expanding the number of kayaks involved from 3 to 6. This expansion aims to increase the operational impact and ensure redundancy if any team encounters difficulties. The personnel selected for the raid are organized into 2 divisions, each tasked with distinct targets in the Bordeaux area, a critical axis for German maritime logistics. Composition of the teams: a division, Catfish, Major Herbert Blondie Hasler and Marine Bill Sparks. Crayfish, Corporal Albert Lever and Marine William Mills. Conger, Corporal George Sherd and Marine David Moffat. B Division, Cuttlefish, Lieutenant John McKinnon and Marine James Conway. Coalfish, Sergeant Samuel Wallace and Marine Robert Hewitt. Cachalot, Marine W.W.A. Ellery and Marine E. Fisher. Additionally, Marine Norman Colley is included as a reserve, providing support and additional manpower if needed during the operation. Despite the well-organized structure and the strategic planning behind Operation Frankton, a significant leadership issue emerges. Major Hasler, originally slated to lead the mission, is informed by Lord Mountbatten that he will not be participating directly in the raid. Mountbatten's decision stems from concerns over the high risk associated with the operation and the desire to preserve Hasler's expertise for future operations. This decision is influenced by the strategic value Hasler holds as a specialist in raiding operations and his critical role in developing new tactics for combined operations. Distressed by the notion of not accompanying his men on such a dangerous mission, Hasler argues that his leadership and navigational expertise are vital for the success of the operation. He contends that the practical experience he would gain and impart during the operation is indispensable, and that his absence could demoralize his unit and potentially jeopardize the mission's success. In response to Mountbatten's decision, Hasler drafts a memorandum to Cyril Horton, passionately making the case for his participation. He highlights the operation's significance and his unique qualifications, drawing a parallel to Major Stirling's role in leading similar high-risk operations in North Africa. Hasler's argument emphasizes that effective leadership in such critical and dangerous missions often hinges on the presence of experienced and skilled commanders who can inspire and lead by example. Enhanced preparation for the raid starts from October 20, 1942 on, encompassing kayak handling, submarine embarkation and disembarkation, limpet mine management, and escape and evasion tactics. The Royal Marines Boom Patrol Detachment conducts a mock attack on Deptford from Margate, kayaking up the Swale as part of their training. For the operation, they select the Mark II kayak, codenamed Cockle. These semi-rigid 2-person kayaks feature canvas sides, flat bottoms, and are 4.6 meters long, designed to be collapsible for storage inside a submarine. Each kayak carries a comprehensive load for the raid, including 2 crew members, 8 limpet mines, navigational and survival gear, and weapons, with a total carrying capacity of 220 kilograms. The personnel also carry .4 5.1911 Colt semi-automatic pistols and Fairbairn Sykes fighting knives, preparing them for both the demolition objectives and potential close-quarters combat situations. During a meeting at Combined Operations Headquarters on October 29, 1942, chaired by Mountbatten, the plan and Hasler's role are again thoroughly discussed. Despite initial resistance from other senior officers, Mountbatten ultimately grants Hasler permission to lead the raid, acknowledging his passion and the potential impact on morale and effectiveness if he were excluded. Mountbatten's approval is a significant morale booster for Hasler, reinforcing his commitment and dedication to the operation. This decision not only reflects the high stakes of Operation Frankton, but also highlights the complexities of wartime leadership and the balance between strategic caution and the operational need for experienced, hands-on leadership. Upon receiving Lord Mountbatten's approval to lead Operation Frankton, Major Hasler is elated and immediately travels to Glasgow to continue preparations. Admiral Mountbatten forwards the operations summary of the outline plan to the Chiefs of Staff Committee on October 30th, 1942. Meanwhile, Hasler arrives in Glasgow. He finds the HMS Forth, the submarine depot ship, anchored in Holy Loch, alongside several of her brood. He has a highly productive meeting with Captain Ionides, the commander of the 3rd Submarine Flotilla, who proves to be exceptionally prompt in assisting him with his numerous challenges. At October 31st, 1942, No. 1 section of the Royal Marines Boom Patrol Detachment arrives in Holy Loch. Captain Stewart arrives as well. Stormman Drew and Marine Todd join too, serving as Marine operations assistants to the officers. Once they also take their quarters aboard HMS Forth, they start working on their program towards the operation. Major Hasler quickly meets them at Gourock and promptly escorts them away. Their upgraded Mk2 cockles, equipped with all the latest enhancements, are also delivered. One day later, on November 1st, 1942, the men take the canoes out for their inaugural training on limpet mine attacks. The submarine Tuna, initially designated for their drills, is regrettably unavailable, but Captain Ionides makes arrangements for them to use P-339 and P-223 for their trials and training in hoisting out techniques. They begin their exercises using the davits of the Dutch minesweeper H.M. Jan van Gelder to address any initial difficulties. This ship also serves as the target for their practice limpet attacks. To replicate the tidal conditions of the Gironde estuary, the H.M. Jan van Gelder maintains a speed of about 1 knot. This setup allows the team to practice maneuvering the canoes and deploying their mines, while mastering the technique of securing themselves with magnetic holdfasts and placing the limpet mines 6 feet below the waterline, ensuring each man is proficient in these critical tasks. The Chiefs of Staff Committee formally approves the plan on November 3rd, 1942, setting the stage for the next steps in the operation's execution. Recognizing the inherent risks associated with such a daring mission, Mountbatten prudently decides to increase the number of kayaks, referred to as cockles, from the original 3 to 6. This decision is aimed at providing redundancy and enhancing the operation's chances of success, acknowledging the potential for accidents or losses during such complex and hazardous undertakings. Submarine and training details. The submarine HMS Tuna, commanded by Lieutenant Commander R.P. Raikes, Royal Navy, is assigned to the mission. The Tuna is part of the 3rd Submarine Flotilla, led by Captain HMC Ionides. Training for the raid is conducted under Captain Ionides' supervision, emphasizing that the operation will only proceed if the training standards are satisfactorily met, ensuring the preparedness and competency of all involved. Operational parameters. The Tuna is scheduled to depart around November 30th for a patrol in the vicinity of the Gironde estuary, where the raid is to take place. Part of its mission includes potentially engaging enemy ships encountered during its patrol. However, if such engagements compromise the safety or secrecy of Operation Frankton, the operation is to be aborted, highlighting the precarious balance between conducting standard naval operations and executing special raids. The final decision on how many kayaks can be accommodated aboard the Tuna is left to the discretion of its commander, Lieutenant Commander Raikes, after consultation with Major Hasler. This flexibility allows for adjustments based on practical assessments of the submarine's capacity and the operational requirements, ensuring that the mission is tailored to the realities of the situation. Meanwhile, the Section 1 teams undertake a rigorous practice session, paddling the fully loaded canoes for a grueling 6.5 hours. This exercise tested their endurance and cohesion as a unit, leaving them very exhausted, but more prepared for the operational challenges ahead. Following this demanding physical trial, all ranks have their first practical experience aboard the submarine P-339, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Wingfield. This phase includes practice in hoisting out the canoes during adverse weather conditions, a heavy squall in particular, and participating in diving and action trials. These submarine-based drills are critical as they provide the teams with vital familiarity with the submarine operations that would be instrumental in the actual mission. The rehearsal exercise blanket is designed to simulate the conditions of the Gironde estuary in France, utilizing the Thames River in Britain due to its similar distance and navigational challenges. This exercise aims to prepare the crews for a 115-kilometer paddle from Margate to Deptford, closely overseen by the Commander-in-Chief, Nor Command, who ensures all coastal defenses are alerted and ready to challenge the participants using a designated code word. Lieutenant Hasler and Stewart depart Glasgow on November 7, 1942, making strategic stops to consult with military leadership in London and Chatham before proceeding to Margate, where they brief the crews and meticulously prepare tide tables up until midnight. The exercise is set to commence the following night under seemingly ideal conditions with misty weather and a flat, calm sea. Exercise blanket takes place between November 9, 1942, November 14, 1942, and navigation proves disastrous from the outset. Mackinnon, navigating independently from the swale, becomes disoriented in the fog, running aground amid mudflats. The confusion worsens due to the P8 grid compass's design, which could easily be misread by 180 degrees. Corporal Sherd fares even worse, losing formation completely and ending up kilometers outside the designated exercise area. His misadventure begins when he mistakes a seagull for Hasler's canoe and follows it, leading him in the opposite direction of the intended course. Exhausted and demoralized, the teams arrive at Blackwall 5 nights later, significantly short of their target at Deptford. Throughout the exercise, every canoe is spotted and challenged at least twice, highlighting the difficulties in maintaining stealth. Additionally, the physical demands of the exercise take a toll on the crews, who struggle to cope with the strain. On November 15, 1942, Major Hasler attends a debriefing at Combined Operations Headquarters to analyze what went wrong during Exercise Blanket. This session, known as a post-mortem, is crucial for understanding the flaws in execution and preparation. Feeling much depressed about the outcome, Hasler is in the All-Ranks Canteen for lunch, a facility implemented by Lord Louis Mountbatten to foster a sense of camaraderie and unity within Combined Operations Headquarters. While Hasler is having a beer and sandwich, Mountbatten approaches him, already aware of the exercise's poor results. His inquiry about the rehearsal isn't just perfunctory, it is an opportunity to gauge Hasler's reaction and mindset following the setback. Hasler admits to Mountbatten that the rehearsal was a complete failure. In response, Mountbatten, with his characteristic optimism, offers a silver lining, suggesting that the failure is beneficial. He smiles and remarks, "Splendid! In that case, you must have learnt a great deal, and you'll be able to avoid making the same mistakes on the operation." Major Hasler and Captain Mackinnon spend the day of November 17, 1942, at the Special Operations Executive Development Center known as Station 9 at Welwyn to discuss time delay capsules for the Limpet mines. On November 18, 1942, Major Hasler and Captain Mackinnon returned to London for a critical assignment, attending a special briefing at a confidential department within the War Office. Here, they engage with experts in espionage and covert operations, receiving training in the Number 3 Code, a secretive communication method designed for soldiers captured by the enemy to send simple yet crucial messages back to military intelligence. Major Hasler and Captain McKinnon returned to the Clyde on November 19, 1942, only to discover that the cabin accommodations aboard HMS Forth are fully occupied. Consequently, the entire detachment is housed on a hotel ship named the Al Rauda, moored nearby. To ensure peak physical and operational readiness, Hasler and his team engage in rigorous training activities. They undertake forced marches across the hills of Butte, integrating practice with pistols and the silent Sten gun, emphasizing stealth and precision. Their combat training also includes the use of the fighting knife, following the Fairbairn system commonly taught in commando units. Following the problems during Exercise Blanket, navigational skills are a critical focus of their preparation. The team conducts extensive navigational exercises both during the day and at night to hone their ability to move and operate under various conditions. Special emphasis is placed on mastering the use of the limpet mine. They practice its tactical deployment against a mock target, the Har Miss Jan van Gelder, and repeatedly drill the fusing process. This fusing becomes a standardized drill performed at the command, ensuring each man can execute it flawlessly even in complete darkness. Additionally, compass work receives particular attention. With the assistance of the navigating officer from HMS Forth, the team diligently works to perfect their navigational accuracy. All canoes, fully loaded with operational equipment, are swung, a process to determine compass deviation. Any detected errors are corrected using the compass corrector mounted underneath each canoe, minimizing potential navigational discrepancies during their mission. This intensive period of training and preparation is critical, equipping Hasler and his team with the skills and tools necessary for the precise execution of their upcoming operation. Their readiness is not only about physical fitness and combat skills alone, but also about ensuring technical proficiency with their equipment and flawless navigation under any circumstances. During the afternoon of November 29, 1942, Major Hasler gathers Number 1 section of his Royal Marine Boom Patrol Detachment. He orders them to pack their gear and the 6 Cockle Mk2 canoes for an imminent departure and advises them to spend the evening writing letters home. The men are ready to go into action and start Operation Frankton. As we conclude this episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, we reflect on the remarkable planning and preparation that went into Operation Frankton. The raid on Bordeaux harbour stands as a testament to the ingenuity and bravery of the Royal Marine Boom Patrol Detachment. Major Herbert Blondie Hasler and his team faced immense challenges, from the rigorous selection and training processes to the intricate logistics of navigating hostile waters in canoes. Their meticulous planning, attention to detail, and unwavering determination were pivotal in executing such a daring mission. Despite the risks, their efforts succeeded in significantly disrupting German supply lines, demonstrating the impact of well-coordinated special operations. Operation Frankton is remembered not only for its strategic success, but also for the courage and resilience of the men involved. Their story serves as an enduring example of how meticulous preparation and innovative thinking can achieve extraordinary results, even in the most challenging circumstances. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the planning phase of Operation Frankton. We hope this episode has provided you with a deeper understanding of the complexities and bravery involved in this historic raid. Stay tuned for part 2 of this series, where we will cover the assault phase of Operation Frankton, detailing the execution of the raid and the challenges faced by the Royal Marine Boom Patrol Detachment during their daring mission. We look forward to continuing this exploration of remarkable World War II operations with you. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.